This is Carien and Mir from Maastricht. Teach us something about open science, please.
We will, and I will keep it short. So let me dive into it directly. I will first mention our goal at the university, then what our current situation is, then Mir will talk about the challenges that we have, and we will end with the poll if there is time, but I think we might have to skip that one. So we have an open science policy at Maastricht University. It is visualized as a tree, as you can see. You cannot read the themes, so there are different branches of the themes, and I will just mention them one by one. There's open access, there's public engagement, fair data use, so findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. There's recognition and rewards. That's a special one. We will leave it out of the open science monitoring part, but it's a national movement in which we want to recognize and reward academics differently and open up diverse career paths. And part of this policy is that people can explain what they do in terms of impact, leadership, clinical care, and also education in their annual appraisals. There's also room in those annual appraisals for their open science activities. And that is why we find it very important to use the CRIS as an evidence base for those people, but also for the institution as a whole to monitor open science. The other branch is fair software, same, findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable. Then open educational resources and pre-registration. So these are the themes that we will tick off one by one and tell you at what stage we are in monitoring them. So as I mentioned, we would like to use CRIS as the basis, so Pure as the basis for this, and then visualize how we're doing in a dashboard. We currently have a Research Intelligence dashboard available, and what we do here is to support units in assessing themselves based on what is in Pure integrated with other sources. One of the examples that we already have available is the open access status of publications. And we currently don't monitor that in Pure. And why is that? Because we have national guidelines that are not compliant with the unpayable open access status. So we don't have a job available in the CRIS that we can use to do this. So we pull the data from CRIS, integrated with OpenAlex, previously unpayable data, then use the API for extra information so that it matches our national guidelines, and then visualize it in this dashboard. So that is the way that we analyze and monitor our open access status. So that brings me also to this slide. What do we monitor? Open access data outside of Pure. What I should say about this is that we thought of pushing it back into Pure using the right API, but our technical person doesn't really like to use the right API too much. It can also be risky. So that's why we keep it out of the system for now. And then I'd like to hand over to Mir.
Thank you. I have sound. Okay. I'm Mir Uiterwijk from Maastricht University. I'm a Pure administrator. So looking back at the 7 branches, we are at the open access now. Carien already mentioned. What we do monitor in Pure or register in Pure is open access status. And then it's the open access status of the DOI. Is it open or is it closed for the world? And with that, we also import the license information, so the CC by all the licenses. And we show both the open status and the license on our Pure portal. Second branch on the open science tree was the public engagement. In Pure, we mostly talk about activities. And since sometimes it's really been focused on the activities, the journal-based metrics are no longer standard, as you all know probably. And in our recognition and reward policy, we're looking at what other achievements does research have next to publications. All other activities related to is research. And then we come to our activities. Not that long ago, we started with registering activities, and this is an overview, maybe not very readable, but we have almost 20,000 activities in Pure. What are you doing? Okay. As you can see, but only 3 of our 6 faculties use activities in Pure by now. They need to register these things anywhere, but only 3 of them register this in Pure. But we expect more in the future because it's becoming more and more emphasized. And then we base the activities first on how Elsevier arranged the activities in Pure, but secondly, we have a national policy, the strategic evaluation protocol, and we need to map certain types to other, a mapping to a specific Netherlands output type, and then we get 24 types or subtypes. And then, of course, you already see one of the challenges. That's a lot. For faculties, it's too much. There's mostly only 10 they want to register on, and if they have to choose from 25 types, and then there's also roles within the types they need to consider, it's not easy for them. And then the other challenge, of course, activities, there's no database where you can import all your data from. We have to rely on the researcher himself to register this data, and then 24 types is a really big challenge for them. And then there's also, in our university, the key users validate everything. They want to see everything, so they also need to validate activities. And then there's seldom a link in an activity. There's nowhere to go to check data or add missing data. That's even more a problem when there's only a title and an author. What activity is it? So key users are really struggling from how can I validate these data? So that's all I wanted to say about the activities. Next slide, I presume. Yeah. So we already have challenges in the activities, but even more challenges in the other branches. The data fairness, data sets and software. We did, I could say, 2 pilots. We imported from Dataverse data sets, and we also did a pilot with Data Monitor. And there, well, in the beginning, technical problems with the author matching, I should say. The input from Data Monitor also revealed a lot of other things that were not data sets, supplementary material, and other rubbish we don't want to import, I could say. And here again, we have about, 8,000 data sets in Pure now, but more than 50% is still for validation for years, because here again, the key users, they're not familiar with the type data sets. They don't know how to validate it. They don't know how to interpret some data. So it's a big challenge. Software, we only just looked at. There is some software in Data Monitor, but by now we have 6 softwares in Pure, so that says it all, I think. Other types, also challenging. Pre-registrations. Then we're talking about the idea to publish a research design before the research is carried out. So the methods and the data analysis, the data plan, the whole description of research. It is not a type in Pure yet, so we don't know really where to put it in the future. There is a database, the Open Science Framework, that's filled with pre-registrations, and we're now looking at possibilities to import these data into Pure. But also there, some questions left. The affiliations with our own university in the OSF are not very clear. You can look on the word Maastricht University, but then you get a lot of things that don't need to be in our Pure. So that's a big challenge. Then there's the question, is it a document, a pre-registration? It's a PDF talking about a research, or is it a project? You can also say, yeah, it's going to be a project, register it like a project. So how to put it in Pure, there are different possibilities, but we're not sure yet how we're going to tackle that in the future. And then finally, we have the open educational resources. That is educational data. Since We started with Pure. Pure was a research CRIS, and we have not yet entered any educational data in Pure. But it's obvious, is it education? Researchers are also educators. Research articles are used in education. Do we need to register them in Pure, etc.? Also questions, what do we going to do with this, and what type is it going to be in our Pure? Is Pure the right system for the open research, the open educational resources? We're not sure yet. We had to talk brief, so we're coming to the questions if there's time. You see, we are full of questions, so if people in the audience have great ideas, please contact us during the breaks. And we also look at Elsevier, if they're here. What if all our questions are on the roadmap? And hopefully pretty soon. Yeah, and we would love the poll to work, but I'm not sure if there's still time. We wanted to know about what the audience is doing on registering all these items from the tree we just discussed.
Let's try. If we can get the poll working, please. Yeah, hands up. Yeah, please do. We have just 1 or 2 minutes, so that would be great.
Oh, and in the meantime, maybe you can ask your questions for us.
Yes, please. Any questions from the audience?
And please fill in the poll. Oh, are we that clear?
I have one. Where would you say that you are in your journey? Because you've been doing so much work. How do you see the near future, 1 or 2 years? What do you see that you still feel that you need to do, if anything?
How do you see the future in 2 years?
Well, I think 2026 is too ambitious. So we're at the beginning, and if we see how it went with Data Monitor, we thought it was the most easy part, data sets. There are options available to automatically import it. But then we see that the workflows in the universities do not exist. So as Mir mentioned, the key users need to validate. We need to create expertise within the universities to validate these types of information. And I think that will take time and education. So we thought we would be halfway, and I think we are at 10% of the journey. and we wanted to be vulnerable here and hope for good ideas to come back. Yeah.
That's job security for you, right? We have time for one more. We have time for one more question. This is Anne.
This looks a lot like our situation.
May I ask a question? So the public engagement or the activities, do you validate those, or because they're part of your framework, right?
Yes, faculties, the key user
How
of
do
the
you
faculty.
validate?
Yeah, that
activities?
was the biggest challenge. Looking up events, because presentations are the biggest part of the activities. We look up the events, we validate the events, we look if we can find a proceeding where the abstracts are registered in, so to check. But that takes a lot of time, and for now it's more or less we rely on the blue eyes of the researcher. And we hope the data is complete. If the metadata is not complete enough, they have to mail up and forth from, can you add more information, and that's all.
But it's all the subcategories within the activities.
We use 24 of them, yes.
You're brave.
But some is only one hit, and the other is thousands. So yeah, we think we're brave too.
Being brave is good. If you're brave enough for coffee, then there's a 20-minute coffee break outside. And please rejoin us in the main room at 2 to 3 for the networking session, please. Thank you very much. Give a hand to Carien and Mir, please.